However,
actually, the time is over. So maybe you could come to a conclusion which shows us what your contribution can give to the others now, as what we can learn from it.
Okay. Okay. So maybe the Chinese can read about several different policies Chinese government have been made. And the thing we want to also say is that about the carbon emission, actually since China entered WTO, if you find in this small graph, the small graph on the left, right, the China emission is actually increasing coincident with the WTO. That actually about 10%, 7 to 14% of Chinese carbon emissions are producing goods for the US. And from this graph here, you can also say that because China is a factory of the world, that's why China has a large emission, but inside China, the Chinese emission per capita is still very low. About the civil society, civil society have done several activities. They release a lot of reports. They are looking at carbon lifestyles, low carbon lifestyles. They are very active in by bicycling, reduce the the carbon-based, I'll say the cars, like transfer from cars to bikes, and they're very active in eliminating the plastic bags. And several reports have been mentioned. The active civil societies are very active in poverty, climate and poverty, as well as the climate, on climate and climate disasters management issues. And also in 2009, the China Civil Society response to the climate change have made its own positions on how China civil societies understand about the climate change, and they are demanding for participating in decision makings and also the mitigations inside the climate change. The climate change policies, and also they were demanding for social justice in the policies, participating in the policy makings, as well as building capacities of people who live in the climate vulnerable places to adjust the climate change. So this is kind of a briefing of what has been happened inside China, and if you have questions, you can ask. Thank you.
Law of nature, I want to ask all of you. And the second is, could we just use working hour, shortening working hour as a strategy to fight this climate crisis? I mean, when we have the green strikes, we reduce the demand and the production at the same time. So maybe we can just do that to reduce our greenhouse gas emission. Thank you.
Thank you. So, first question was to all. I mean, if all of us would answer, it'll probably take too much time. Who would like to answer? Norman, please.
My name's Russell. I'm the Green from New Zealand. The mics are working. The question is about the market, and so my answer would be that no, the market's not the enemy of the environment. I would say that relentless economic growth is the enemy of the environment, but that the market is a tool that we've got to learn how to use in order to reduce environmental impacts. So my view is that you need to price in the externalities, environmental externalities, inside a market system, so that we can use a market to reduce environmental impacts. Markets have been connected to economic growth throughout, the history of capitalism. markets and economic growth are set together, but it is growth in resource use and growth in pollution that is the enemy, rather than the market itself.
Thank you. Second question.
For girl from China, what do you understand under opposition in China? Is that inside China opposition or outside China? What you in your text you talk about opposition in China? What is that?
I didn't say opposition in China. What do you mean?
You talked about opposition in China. Is that right? Misunderstood?
Civil society in China, that's what I understood. I didn't hear the term opposition, but yeah, it's an answer to you.
Is there any opposition in China?
You mean there's opposition inside China?
Is there any people who are not agree with governmental decision and policy in China?
Well, personally, possible. You can discuss with. You actually can discuss with the government if you like. You can join the agencies during we call the People's Congress. You can reach out those informations to them, and you can also join we call the 政协.
Why I asked this question is because in Mongolia we have a lot of Chinese companies, and they're destroying beautiful countryside just for some kind of metal. I don't know what they want for your development in China. And we're looking in China some people who are maybe understand the situation and push our own companies, say, Mongolia is a beautiful country, let us keep that. Let's be sustainable mining to do, responsible mining. It seems in China you are as part of, in the world society, trying to build another kind of behavior, not to be developed, but to live continually in this world as one world society. That's we are discussing with your embassy. We have tried, I visited last year the Hokot, tried to find some people maybe interested for cooperation. It seems you must be more strong as human, understand. Ideology is shown already past. You should, ideology, communism, I don't know what there is in 20th century say goodbye. You should now look how is work in future together. That's maybe the last question would be. I heard some word opposition, that's why I'm very happy there's maybe opposition inside China who are trying to make differently, trying to think differently. That's why my question. Thank you very much.
Okay. Can I give you feedback? Actually, in China, there are many civil societies are working on monitoring the China overseas investments. As we know, like China in Africa, China in Southeast Asia, and now China in Mongolia, we also learned about the gold mining in Mongolia, which destroy the grasslands. There are some societies are looking into it, and there are also some societies who are trying to collaborate with the government to set up the laws, the policies to regulate those companies. We know most of the companies are the national enterprises who are there, and some of them have to follow the China government policies. However, there are also many private companies that they are purely money making, purely profit interest to be there. We also collaborate with those governments. I mean, I have a group of friends who are working on those overseas investment monitoring issues, and we also collaborate with the NGOs in those host countries that's trying how to promote. I mean, trying to help them to think about strengthening the laws of the host countries to be more moderating the Chinese companies who are investing in those countries. I think that has to be two countries together collaborating. It doesn't mean we have to against, but it means we have to try to adjust and making collaborations working together to monitoring them, to make their behaviors better and more equal and social friendly to the people.